guys, welcome to I Am Me with AMP. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic evening. I'm really excited to share with you guys the guest that I've got today. So I'm going to introduce you guys to Zach. He will be going through a couple of things with us in terms of like his journey within school and going through to university. So introducing to you guys, this is Zachariah. Zach, it's all yours.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach, short for Zachariah. I am Samoan, Chinese, and Balangi, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, you good to go, Zach?
Yeah, all good.
Yep.
All good.
All relaxed, feeling chilled?
Yeah.
All right, nice one. Okay. So, Zach, take us back to when you were in high school. What were the certain things that you had to do to get yourself to being head boy of Mount Roskill Grammar?
I think since I started high school, one of the main things that I knew subconsciously, and one of the things that I learned from my parents and my grandmother as well, was just to be myself and put God first and have a good set of habits for all parts of my life, and like physical well-being and mental well-being and praying and spiritual well-being, and making sure to just practice those things and know that those things were core to me just wanting to be a good person and how I should live my life, and not that being head boy was the goal, but that good things and fruitful things would come when I would just practice those good habits. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, like, when you got into becoming head boy, and of course, like, like you said previously, you are half Samoan. Um, do you feel like, having that cultural background to yourself that you felt like you had to, what would I say, you had to bring more to the plate in terms of so many people watching you through your journey of being head boy?
Mm. I think just before high school and during high school too, I wasn't really that connected with my Samoan culture, my Samoan family. Just over the years, it was kind of normal for me to not know much of the language and the customs and traditions. But um, I knew, like, going home, I grew up being around my cousins and having little like bits and sound bites and small parts of the culture over
Yeah,
the years. And I knew that that was something more familiar to me than
cool.
um, kind of the European Western lifestyle, and it definitely was a part of my identity. And if I was in classes during high school that didn't have that much Pacific Island kids, I'd be proud to kind of express my culture
Yeah,
and let
for
people
sure.
know, and show to my teachers that people from my backgrounds and my culture can be in these places in the school. Yeah.
Love that. I mean, it's pretty exciting the fact that you were head boy. It's definitely a privilege to be able to be in such a place, right? Because Mount Roskill is
Yeah.
quite a big high school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Big
being
high
able
school.
to get into a position where you're able to help other students and lead from the front, did you feel a bit of pressure?
The summer of my year 12, when the whole thing was going around, like who was going to be the head prefects, kind of felt a bit of pressure from teachers and students, because everyone was saying, like, oh, everyone knows it's going to be you, and then
Yeah.
kind of placing that expectation on me if I didn't want it, or even though I didn't want it. But I think what was called to me is my faith, and I am a Christian, so I think I remember over that summer I just still, like, pray every day and kind of practice the good things, the good habits of how God would want me to live my life, and kind of all those worries just became secondary. And when I eventually became head boy, I think the main thing for me to learn and to do was eventually also just continue to be myself and do those things that I know that God wants me to do in my life, and loving people at school and being a good role model when I can and setting a good example, and just making my parents happy too. As long as I did those just core basic things, then
Yeah,
there
yeah.
wasn't really much pressure. Yeah.
Getting to know you, Zach, I find you to be a very humble person, right? And like, being humble isn't about, dressing down, and it's more on the inside. This is my intake on where humbleness comes from. How did you keep yourself humble to make sure that you didn't fall away from what you know?
I remember in year 13, it was obviously 2020, so it was the COVID year. So I think everyone being forced at home. When I was forced back home, I was just in the home environment with my immediate family, and I think getting used to just the whole new lifestyle of being around my family when I expected the year to be, full of
full of
activities and
and
studies
being
and
at school
yeah,
24/7.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot. But I think that kind of helped me stay grounded because I was around my family every day, and you know, families always like clash and love each other at the same time,
yeah,
and you have to learn and grow, especially through COVID, which was a lot of pressure on like financial and everything. But also another way that I was grounded was my nana. I was with her throughout the lockdown period, like half the time, and my nana's a typical Samoan migrant, raised in church. She would always say, pray every day and make sure you can go to church or listen to a service when you can. And she would say it regardless of how well I was doing or not. And like just her kind of boldness to just say it to me, like even if I was in a good week at school or a bad week at school, I think that was a kind of just like a objective kind of
yeah.
standard that she set.
Bringing you back
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
the yeah,
Back to the roots and the
yeah,
childhood
for
and the
sure.
upbringing too.
For sure. That's definitely something, the old school ways of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
My mum
old
is
school.
exactly the same. It doesn't matter how good you're doing or how bad you're doing, it's always the same level of consistency
Yeah,
to, like,
consistency.
always have that balance
That's the
with
word.
God and to, like,
Mm.
always be thankful for what you have and be grateful. So, like going, finishing college, right, and going into university, what are you currently studying?
I'm studying a Bachelor of Health Sciences at the University of Auckland.
Beautiful. So, like, what were the subjects that you had to take in order to get into health science?
Also, I took my last year. I took
Biology?
biology, chemistry, economics, statistics, and geography,
All right,
and so they were
crazy.
all subjects that were I think they were kind of level A, where if you kind of passed all your credits in those subjects, then you're like guaranteed the
See,
spot. Yeah.
well, this is a good question to come out, right?
Mm.
So you said there had to be a certain, what is
More
it called again?
rank score.
A rank
Yeah.
score. Okay. So is that where you have to make sure during NCA, is it more year 12 or year 13 with the
Year
with
12 for year 12 for the kind of early offers,
yeah.
and then year 13 you really have to double down and make sure you get the credits to ensure that you have, like, by the end of the year, the rank score
What
you
did
want.
you put in place to make sure that your studies were consistent in terms of passing and things like that?
And even though I was head boy, I had to make sure that I'd stay after class and ask the questions that I needed to. And I remember sometimes I had to spend a couple of lunch times with my teachers because I guess it was sometimes a bit overwhelming and I had to catch up a bit on some content. But kind of doing those little things or going the extra mile, I think
Yeah,
that, yeah,
for
really
sure.
helped me push me over the edge. Yeah,
And, like, that's where I feel like a lot of kids, at school don't do right, is they don't
yeah,
ask questions because they feel like, oh, they might look dumb or they might look stupid. But I feel like the point of school is that you have teachers there to be able to
yeah, yeah.
ask those questions and have those conversations, right? And so that's why it's so important to always make sure that you're aware of your studies, that you're always, raising your hand and asking those questions. And like you said, you would stay behind and have those, like, conversations with your teachers.
Mm,
I think it's such a great, like, a great thing that we have, like, school teachers that are willing to stay behind. Like, if you're at college right now, if you're going into that scene, like, it's so important that you ask questions and you don't be shy, and that, you raise your hand. And if you're too shy to raise it during class, speak to your teachers after school, to exactly what Zach's done, right? And did you find that helpful?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Always, it's always better to do that instead of think about it and then don't want to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, and then get it wrong because you were too
yeah,
shamed
yeah,
to
yeah.
ask the questions.
Mm.
Okay, I love that. So, besides, like, studying and stuff, I know you played sports in
Yeah,
college,
yep,
yeah?
yep, yep.
So do you feel like that was a good balance in terms of, having your academics and sports? Like, do you feel like it was a good mental, um, breakaway from studying?
Yeah, yeah. I think especially in being in uni and kind of not having been physically active like recently, I definitely remember that during school, kind of keeping up with sports, even if it wasn't 100% like every day of the week. It was just something to keep your brain
Yeah.
kind of like healthy and keep your body fit, and then when your body's fit, it helps your mind, and when you do the studies and in the classroom work, yeah.
That's really
Mm.
cool. Because, like, what were the sports that you played back in school?
In school, I played basketball for school every year, and outside of school, I played like three years of indoor netball.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Indoor netball is pretty hardcore, right?
yeah, it was really hardcore, really more physical than
A
people would
hundred
think.
percent. I played it and almost died, but we won't go there
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
So, like, let's go back to now. You're at uni, yeah. So, during uni, you were able to get a scholarship, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, and with that scholarship, you were able to go into a dormitory.
Yeah, on my first year.
All right,
Yeah.
so how did you find that having to move away from home and like live on your own? Like,
Mm.
was that like a strange experience at the beginning?
At the beginning, I knew I was really excited, and I kind of had this mental build up of like, oh man, I can do my own thing, and I don't have to be around my brother or share a room with my
Yeah,
brother
yeah,
anymore.
for
'Cause
sure.
I've been
Have your
sharing,
own space.
yeah, for 18 years before I was sharing a room with my brother my
Yeah,
whole life, and having my own space, and I was really like looking forward to it. But I think, and it's a thing known, like I think for lots of Pacific Islanders, but kind of when you're away from home, and you're away from the family environment and the relationships and just that context of like laughter and jokes and being with your family a lot and having a really close relationship with your elders as well. I think I underestimated that, and I found myself a lot of times at the dormitory on like a Friday night. I just start missing my little sister or my nana, and then I just call on my dad, and then he bring me home. So I think a lot of the weekends at that dorm, I just wanted to go back home because I kind of missed it.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. It makes you appreciate your family, right?
yeah, definitely did.
And that's why it's
Mm.
super important. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like you have a great relationship with your parents,
Yep,
where
yep,
you're able to have those conversations.
mm.
And having
Very blessed.
supportive parents is definitely a blessing.
Yep,
Yeah, and you still have your nana, which is even more of a blessing.
mm,
And she
mm.
sounds like she's impacted your life
Oh yeah,
majorly,
yeah, yeah.
which is really awesome.
Third parent, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. You know, during your stay at the dorm, how did you, because you're in charge of yourself now, right? So you're accountable
yeah,
for your time. Like, you don't have mom or dad or your nana being like, Zach, are you doing
yep,
this? Are you doing
yep,
that?
yep.
How did you make yourself accountable to make sure that you were still studying and that you were still able to balance having a life outside of uni?
Just being honest, I didn't really learn how to properly do it. I think at all because during I think it was the fourth week of the second semester, we went back into lockdown. So
For
that was
COVID?
basically the dormitory year experience done. But I think before then, I definitely had kind of like good weeks and bad weeks. I wasn't really stressing too much about making sure that I have it done right. But I was a bit inconsistent. But I definitely had like good days and bad days where I really focused and I got a lot done, and other days where I slipped in, didn't go to lectures, had to catch up. But yeah, I think that was part of the whole experience, just like
That
having the good and bad. Yeah,
I think that means you're human,
yeah, human. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which is great. College and university is hardcore, having to balance your lifestyle as well as trying to be a teenager,
yeah.
right? And so, like, I've always had in my head, the people that you hang around with is exactly what's going to influence you in your future, right? So it's
Yep,
like, show me your friends and I'll show you your
yep,
future.
yep. Mm.
What would you say is your outlook on that?
Yeah, I think it was definitely agree with that, and I think some of the sayings as well is like if you hang around four idiots, you become the fifth, and so I definitely agree with that, and I can tell kind of having patches of like phases of different friends during high school, after high school, you can definitely tell like which ones influence you and how much they influence you by how much time you spend with them.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you say you had a good friend pack? Like, do you feel like you had some good friends that like really had your back and like supported you through your time of college and going through into university?
Our high school, I think, kind of the support systems were friends, but not really on a deep and personal level.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was more kind of self-reserved, and I thought to myself a lot more. I don't really express openly to like friends, but definitely needed those relationships when I had them. In university, I definitely had. my my now partner Faith, she was my biggest kind of supporter, and we we're both experiencing uni. Even though we had the support of your eldest daughter, her older sister Rosa, we had a support sometimes, but being a first year, you still have to go through
Yeah,
what you
for
needed to go
sure.
through. She was probably my biggest help, and I wouldn't have got through the year without her. And I think a couple of other friends I made at the dorms, kind of going through that dorm experience
Yeah, for
together,
sure.
coming from like someone like homes and families, and kind of like sticking with each other and making sure we're comfortable and doing things together. It was definitely helpful.
So tell me about, like, being at university. Did you have a part-time job?
Yep, I was working as a retail assistant at Sony Sports
How did you find the experience of having to balance work with study?
because retail. I think what I kind of got from it was that you could come in and just have the best attitude and always ask what you can do to help and just be a part of a team. I think because I kind of learned those skills and how to do that when I was younger. I think it was a seamless fit when I started with retail,
Yeah, for sure.
and it didn't really take away from the studies too much because I remember I was working Friday night and Saturday full day, and I had the rest of the week to spend time on lectures and
Good.
study and yeah homework too.
Now that you're currently studying health science at the moment, yes.
Yep, yep.
What would you say is your passion to be able to get into that?
My passion for the health industry started when I was younger. I think I always thought of myself as a kind of secondary a secondary person to a lot of kind of harmful health experiences in my community and my wider family. I say secondary because I know firsthand experiences of poverty or poor nutrition or overcrowding in houses. A lot of kind of normal lifestyles that are for our Pacific people. And I say secondary because I didn't experience those when I was growing up, but my cousins did, and I go to my cousin's house and I'd
Yeah,
see it, and my friend's house, and I would kind of see those kind of lifestyles and circumstances. So I think being a kind of fly on the wall, like a secondary kind of observer to those things, because there were people that I loved and people close to me. That's what kind of started the drive. Like, oh no, I want to get into an industry that kind of changes these issues and resolves them. So a lot of my Pacific kind of communities and anyone going through those struggles can kind of have it resolved and experience better health. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Mm,
I can feel a lot of passion when you talk about, getting into the health sector.
mm,
So, at the moment you're still umming and ahhing about, where you're going to go in terms of exactly what you're going to go for in an occupation.
mm.
But what are a few of the things that you've already contemplated, possibly going down the route of?
In terms of the health sector, I would I've been thinking a lot about being an assistant. I think it's an orderly or healthcare assistant in the clinical settings, so in hospitals and uh, primary and secondary healthcare services. Just being an assistant and helping where I can, kind of like what I was doing in retail.
Yeah,
And also in the non-clinical organizations, there's lots of Māori and Pacific health organizations to do with nutrition, weight loss, kind of working with Pacific communities and families, and so their specific needs, kind of dabbling into a bit of social work too.
awesome.
I can feel like I can be an assistant in those kind of services as well.
I love that.
Mm.
It's crazy because at the beginning of our conversation, you stated that you weren't really, within your culture, so
Yeah,
you didn't really know much about your Samoan culture and
yeah,
so
yeah,
forth. But I feel a lot of passion and enthusiasm coming out of you right now in
yeah,
terms of where did the spark start to, like, generate in your mind with the whole, for the Pacific and
yeah.
Māori people. Yeah, where did that drive come from?
It was definitely my upbringing and my experiences, kind of personal and kind of interpersonal secondary. Um, I remember growing up, because I'm half Samoan, half Balangi, my uh, I would spend a lot of time with my Balangi family, like kind of during the week. I remember I went to a church that was predominantly Pākehā and Chinese as well, and Asian. And I remember the experiences at that church. I could get along and make friends, but it wasn't like the same kind of kids and people that I knew at my school in South Auckland and Mangere Bridge, because I was friends with lots of Pacific and Māori, and that was kind of who I was used to. I think when I was younger, I kind of made that distinction earlier, like early in my life, that not saying that one is good or one is bad, but I definitely kind of felt the comfortability was different
Yeah.
between the kind of the church and those kind of crowds and communities compared to what I was used to at home. And I think another kind of key moment in my kind of life to set off that drive and expand it a bit more was I remember the Samoan teacher at my high school who kind of sorted all the organization of our Samoan group. I remember she texted me, I think after we had a performance, and she said that I know you were kind of like conscious and you felt a bit down because you couldn't speak and you're one of the leaders, but you don't feel like you feel like you're out of place. But she told me, which was really affirming and kind of nice for her to say to me, and it kind of changed my whole perspective, was that I was someone in the way that I carried myself at school, in the way that I respected my parents, in the way that kind of pushed myself at school and showed respect and love to the people around me, even if I didn't know the language and I can still learn. I think that those kind of core values and core kind of habits that I did during school, she was affirming that that was being someone as well,
Yeah.
and that kind of really helped me to, okay, I want to these are my people, I want to help them, and I can do that because I know how to, and not I don't know how to speak, but I know how to study and connect with them and try my best. Yeah,
It's pretty much actions speak louder than
yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah.
And I can understand where you're coming from. I never spoke Samoan growing
Mm,
up either. Your teacher's absolutely right. Your respect and your love for others is definitely a born and bred thing that islanders do.
yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
it's part of our DNA in terms of values and service to
Yeah,
others,
yeah,
right? And always being giving.
mm,
Like it says, it's better to give than it is to receive.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. I like
Mm.
that. So your teacher gave you the spark, to be like, I've got this.
Yeah, yeah. It was really kind of I was insecure a lot throughout high school because I couldn't speak and people calling me plastic, and I didn't really kind of get into my own comfortable in my own skin until kind of she sent me that message and I started to think about it like that. And then
That's actually
afterwards,
really cool.
yeah, yeah.
That's
She was
it.
really sweet.
Yeah.
Ma'ailua, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you, Miss. Mm.
Awesome. So so now that you've kind of identified what you're going to do when you go into the house sector, um, what do you think are some of the things that kids need to do that are wanting to get into, house science? What do you think are some of the things that they need to do to get to there? That if they say they're like year 11 right now and they're
Yeah,
contemplating getting into that.
I think uh, I think definitely, especially for Pacific Island students, once you meet people from other schools and spend more time around people in your own school, they have the same kind of drive and interest in you, kind of feel the empowerment and the drive and the inspiration and the determination to want to continue down that path. I think it's a common thing for Pacific Islanders is like strength in numbers. And I
Yeah.
think definitely in high school, when you meet with the kind of students or people your age that have the same interests in wanting to study health sciences or whatever else it is, when you're with them together, then you can work together, you can help each other, lift each other up, and elevate and grow and get into those fields together, which would be good.
Um, so, like, what would you say is what's a bit of advice that you would give to kids right now that are trying to persevere through just life in itself? What's something that you would say to them?
I'd say remember your kind of social and community networks and foundations that we were talking about before. Remember those and keep those close to you. And also, I think success and where you want to be, it'll come through good habits. So I think you just need to practice good habits one small thing in school is simply just asking questions as soon as they come to you, not like spending 5 minutes debating yourself if you're too scared to ask them or not, and just kind of build those habits, and then eventually, like you won't look for opportunities and blessings, but they will come if you just practice good habits. Yeah,
I
like
just got
that.
to ask you because you've said good habits a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is some good habits that you do, Zach?
I've been honest, I don't really do as much anymore, but throughout high school, I remember I would just pray like every day with my nana in the car before we go to school. She make me, my brother, and my cousin pray each, and then we'd all say the Lord's Prayer together, and then say it in Psalm. Just like I'd pray every day, and I would kind of do my homework. I'd try to do my homework as soon as I get it. And good habits, I think mentally as well. When I kind of felt short tempered or angry or tired, to just hold myself back for a couple seconds and then just think, okay, what is the right thing? What was a good thing, the nice thing to do for someone or myself? And then kind of doing that as well. I did that a lot throughout high school and spent a lot of time on myself thinking. So that definitely helped.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's
Mm.
crazy that you say that because are you not working at the library now?
Yeah, I am
Yeah, so
working the
you get
library.
to be of service to others within the library industry, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how are you finding that at the moment with working at the library as well as studying?
I think the reason why I kind of look for the library in a community role like that is because I'm learning lots about kind of health inequities and environments and circumstances that lead to poor health. And I wanted to work in the library because that was the kind of I didn't realize it as much at the before I started, but I know now that the libraries is one of the kind of closest experiences you can get to what the community is really like,
Absolutely.
because people walk in the library and they're on drugs or they kind of have issues. They don't have a computer at home, so they use the computer at the library. They don't have Wi-Fi at home, so they use the Wi-Fi. And we just get all kind of sorts of people that kind of have a lack of resources and kind of a lack of frustration of with life, and sometimes see the library as the only place that will accept them. And I feel like it's been good for me to kind of learn those experiences that I've learned about in uni and kind of have first-hand practical kind of conversations with people at the library, like what's going on at home and where kind of health relates to that and how is their well-being as a result of it. And I think that's the biggest kind of takeaway. It's been a positive for me. Yeah,
That's really cool, man. How do you pull yourself out of that to make sure that you're 100% there for the person? And do you know what I mean? You know how
yeah,
your empathy gets or sympathy gets too much and you
yeah.
can't really focus. Like, how do you keep yourself grounded to make sure that you're always giving 100% at all times?
Um, I feel like a common kind of experience at the library is people coming in with a lot of frustration because they don't know how to work their phone, or they don't know how they don't know how WINS or the Ministry of Social Development kind of asked for their income statement. They don't know how. They're just really frustrated. They don't
Yeah, yeah.
understand, and we kind of face the brunt of that, as you know, like retail and many customer-facing roles do. And I think kind of not taking it as personal anger, but it just shows the kind of the wider social struggles and experiences that people are going through, and then kind of realizing like I know how to send an email, or I know how to scan a document.
The
So it's like, yeah,
basics.
so I can help them, and then it can be like a big relief and a big weight off their back because I just taught someone how to print off a computer or something small like that. So I think kind of seeing their frustration and then knowing that, oh yeah, I know plenty of things or small things I can teach them to help them overcome that kind of issue they face. Yeah.
Because, like, getting the library job, like, what did you have to actually, what were the credentials that you needed to be able to become a librarian?
I can't remember exactly, but I think one of the main parts that they were looking for as an employer by Auckland Council was to I was how kind of much effort and how kind of the determination you had to want to serve the community, and I think to work with someone that comes to the library with a query and to resolve it as best as you can. And I think I applied myself like that a lot in retail, and I showed them when I was interviewing that I had like kind of different experiences at school where I'd be of service, and
Yeah.
I think that really helped as in terms of like credentials.
So, guys, if you're ever wanting to be a librarian, it's pretty much service to others.
Yep. Yep.
And being in customer service is definitely a pro, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I guess it's having passion and drive to, like, you're there to help people
Yeah. Yeah.
in any circumstances if you are wanting to be a librarian. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So, like, this has been a great conversation, Zach. I just wanted to ask you, do you have a specific quote that you live by, or a saying?
One that was key to growing up was me and my dad talked about it a lot. It's a verse from our Bible. I remember word for word, but something like, "Do not be conformed by the patterns of this world, but be renewed in your mind." We're kind of in the world, but like lots of things that are going on in society and the world, don't conform to it, because you can renew your mind and realize that all of it's good for you, and a lot of it is kind of things that come from bad intentions and kind of evil intent and poor intent. But just renew your mind to make sure that every day you can walk in, or for me, how I walk and how God wants me to, and how I live my life, and just kind of stepping back from the world and society around us too.
So pretty
Yeah.
much, don't let the world contradict your life, but be in control and understand that
Yeah.
you are the light and that you can reform from all the craziness that's happening.
Yeah, and just renew your mind and set it back to,
Yeah,
for me, how God wants me to see it, and kind of just live by that.
for sure. If as long as you surround yourself with the right people and you're able to uplift each other to keep driving forward to whatever your goal is, that you will be successful.
Yeah.
Um, and it is your last year of your
Last full year. I got a half year next year, but yeah, last full
nice.
year.
That's very exciting.
Mm.
I wish you well on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to have you, Zach.
Thank you.
And I will see you guys next week at 5 p.m. for episode 5 of I Am Me with AMP.
Thank you.
Zach, you